Hey, you there! Ever try to do something in under 6 minutes? Anything, like say, grow a beard. I bet you can. At Sweet Pepper's Deli, you get quality food in under 6 minutes. Now how about that? Sweet Pepper's Deli, life is sweet.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Good evening and welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, and we were talking about that flash flood warning in Oktibbeha County, getting some verifications of just how heavy those downpours were. A report from Brace down there in Starkville, just under that 3-inch threshold, showcasing how heavy those downpours were. And he told us that he actually emptied this right before that storm. So this was all included within the past couple of hours as that heavy thunderstorm rolled on through. Chief Meteorologist Matt Laupon joining us now. Matt, just, what are we seeing? What are we tracking? And those rainfall rates, they've surely gotten lower.
Yeah, in a lot of places, obviously, the rainfall rates are a lot lower out there. We're looking in the 8 to 10 area where, of course, you're technically still for about the next 12 minutes or so under that flash flood warning there in Oktibbeha County. But as you can see, it's just a leftover, what we call convective debris from those storms that we're tracking here in the Room to Room Weather Center at 6 o'clock. As we bring it back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar, again, that flash flood warning till 6:15 current time at this instant here, coming in 6:02. So 13 minutes, but again, I think the primary threat for that has passed. As we widen things out just a little bit, you can see there still do have that warning out for the locations in the Starkville area. And as you mentioned, one of the big impacts certainly has been how heavy that rainfall was. We look at the rainfall totals over the last 3. I'm going to actually go last 6 hours of rainfall to kind of capture everything there. I point that out because the amounts down here in Winston and Noxubee counties have been fairly similar. As we kind of rotated back here to the last 3 hours and put this into motion over the last hour. You can definitely see some spots there continue to add up near the Estes community, just on the east side of Louisville near Booneville, actually out here north of Meshulaville as well. But a sign there that, again, in some of those spots, we could also have some fairly hefty rainfall totals, and I know you'll have some of those for us come up here in a couple minutes. I mean, just kind of picking a few spots there off the map, 2 to 3 inches, fairly common in those locations. We have been watching, though, other spots farther west, back out here closer to Vaden, locations back into the Mississippi Delta, as we kind of slide things back that way toward Greenwood, another one of those spots where the rainfall has been pretty heavy. As we bring it back to the latest scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, again, it's kind of this zone that we have here that stretches from close to the Greenwood area back out here toward Kosciuszko, and then these moving southward there toward Philadelphia as well. This is the zone where these are the heaviest, and again, the fact that they aren't moving very fast is where that flooding rainfall potential comes in. We're going to start actually back out here toward Greenville on our tracking here for a moment, Greenwood, as the storm certainly on the south side of town over the last 30 minutes, finally sliding south a little bit more. That's why the heaviest rainfall totals have been there. As we check out our camera there in the Greenwood area, where we have been kind of monitoring the heavy rainfall. Certainly it does not have the same issues with visibility we had earlier. Still fairly difficult to see, but it's not just the blinding rainfall. And that's the thing, I think the heaviest again is south of town. 73 degrees right now in Greenwood as those rain chances moving south. We're looking 145 degrees. If 180 is south, we're looking kind of southeast into that heavier rainfall you kind of see on the radar map there on the edge. So certainly some folks that need some rainfall picking up some of that much needed rainfall as well, because pretty much we're all in that category of needing some rainfall there. Rainfall rates for some of those spots, again, fairly hefty. We show some spots where we have the pink on here. Again, very, very heavy to blinding rainfall. But if you have travel that might take you out here beyond Winona along US 82, the heaviest of that rainfall south of US 82. And so that obviously makes travel a little bit better there. We mentioned it at our 5 o'clock broadcast. We're going to check that camera there in Winona. Again, the showers, the heaviest just to the south, and the rainfall has not cooled it quite as much in some locations there around Winona, but still showing about 73 there in town. down, and there's some of the rainfalls. We look back into some of the heavier rain kind of generally toward the south there. So again, hoping to get some more rainfall, Duck Hill, Winona, but the heaviest unfortunately setting up just a little bit south of you. Back here to Mississippi Live weather radar, back to the rainfall mode here. And again, the heaviest south of Kosciuszko as well, near Dodds and Patterson there, near Bolatusha. That one really pretty hefty. But these are actually moving a little bit, and I think that's one of the signs that hopefully limits the overall accumulations just a little bit. Checking those rainfall accumulations over the last 6 hours out of this, and really most of it's the last hour, and most of those have been less than that 2-inch threshold. We start seeing the yellow there, especially over such a short period of time. That's where we get the most concern. So that's the winners, so to speak. The losers are pretty much everybody else. We've had some spotty showers up north. This is the last 6 hours. Let's go to the last 24 there, where certainly back the last night, they were a lot heavier out in Alabama, but a lot of folks up here that need to see some rainfall didn't see hardly anything today. They have some spots there closer to Bruce as well that were decent. But Gabe, as I bring back here kind of the latest scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, we don't expect to have a lot of redevelopment out of what we're kind of seeing here, unfortunately, but certainly hoping things get better with some rain chances that do remain possible for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is we're not out of luck if we missed out on these rain chances today, but tomorrow, not everyone's going to be impacted. So it's still going to be hit or miss, and there's still going to be some disappointed folks, but at least we have some rain chances in the forecast. We can take our blessings where we can. This was actually submitted to us by Teresa in Louisville. We were talking about some of those heavy rainfall outputs. You see just under that 4-inch mark, we're talking about 3.5 inches over that very short time frame. Very curious to see what comes out of Itala County and just moving through Winona with some of those heavier downpours. But this is one of the many things that we're tracking here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. One of the things we're also looking at is what Matt talked about just a second ago. More thunderstorms are possible heading into our Wednesday. So this evening, not our only chance of seeing some of that rainfall, rain-cooled relief. Some of that much needed rainfall. More rain moves in there towards Wednesday, and the 90s are back. But not the decade. We're talking about the temperature. So I know, Matt, you got excited there. Here in the 90s coming back. But the first 12, we're definitely seeing those isolated showers moving into the forecast, continue to move into the forecast there, 7 to 10 o'clock overnight, trying to linger in the forecast, but that moisture primarily shifts into some patchy fog, especially for your morning commute, because look at these winds. 1 mile an hour at best. So whenever we talk about drying up that atmosphere, wind doing a big part with that, whenever you don't have that wind to dry it up, and then you have that radiation there towards the morning, well, that's what produces some of that patchy fog. So your morning commute, one hazard to another, that's what we're tracking for the start of our Wednesday. Those, of course, sticking around until that sunshine burns it up totally. So what we're seeing right now, and again, this is looking on the expanded front, is this trough with some disturbances right along that boundary there towards Arkansas, Mississippi, that state line right there. So you see that development right over the top of us, and this is really the primary threshold has been these scattered showers. Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky have been the only chances of rainfall. Elsewhere, pretty dry forecast, so all the more reasons to feel a little bit blessed that we've actually gotten some of those rain chances. Overnight, our best chances of rainfall still out there towards Arkansas, but some of those trying to drift east into the Mississippi Delta. That's going to be overnight and into the start of our Wednesday morning. That's why we keep that 10% chance, but overall, for the vast majority of us here in North Mississippi, staying on the drier side with just some of that patchy fog for our morning commute. By the time we get towards that 9, 10 o'clock threshold, a lot of that patchy fog burns on up, and then we'll be seeing clear conditions across North Mississippi beyond that point. So late morning, of course, drying up, but then that all sets the scene for our next round of rain chances, and that's going to be tomorrow mid to late afternoon. You see that 30% coverage back in the forecast around 3 p.m. Fingers crossed it affects the folks that need the rainfall, or at least the folks that didn't get any rainfall today, but into the rest of our evening, those chances still lingering, but only 10 to 20% in cover. So not overly high, but at least the chance is there. We're going to walk through that forecast here in the next 60 of just, the timing of that rainfall, how much we're going to expect, and then the possibility of some inclement weather moving into our Thursday. Not very high, but the chance is there. And that's going to be the key thing that we keep saying heading into the next 48 hours of our forecast. Temperatures, we said the 90s are back. We'll be telling you exactly what to expect with that forecast. All of that on Mississippi Live Weather at 6 in the next 60.
Up here's where your biggest risks hide: leaks, mold, and expensive damage. Most commercial roofs fail slowly until they fail big. Why rip it off when you can restore it? Our silicone coatings stop leaks, prevent mold, and extend your roof life without the high replacement cost. It's a 30-year watertight roof, energy efficient, leak-free, and half the cost of replacement. And it's backed by GE's manufacturer warranties. Facility managers love this. No disruption, no tear off, and long-term protection for your property. Trust Absolute Restoration for your commercial roof.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
Well, it's been a rainy day for some and continues to be a rainy evening for a lot of folks south of Highway 82. We've been talking all afternoon and evening about those isolated rain chances developing with some of those heavier portions back there towards Greenwood, extending on the south side of Montgomery County into Atala County. So that's the best chances of rainfall right now with some of those isolated showers in Noxubee County, but that's more of a light to moderate rainfall. We are actually 4 minutes away from that flash flood warning expiring. Honestly, at this point, it could expire early. They're just going to take it through the full time and let that go ahead and expire for itself. The rest of us got a few of those isolated showers earlier on today, but more expected into Wednesday, and fingers crossed because there were some folks that did not see any rainfall throughout today. And we're talking about folks in Oxford, out in Clarksdale, even over there towards Hernando, very light showers, non-impactful. And we definitely need as much rainfall as we can get. Some of those totals that we talked about, 2 inches to 3 inches there in Starkville, down south there towards Noxubee and Louisville, seeing some pockets of 2 to 3 inches, and even just along I-55 getting some heavier downpours as well. So this has been a rainy day for some, but still there are some areas that need that rainfall in the forecast. But whenever we expand things out, you can definitely see where those showers have been popping up. I mentioned that Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky getting that best area of moisture, but even out there towards northern Arkansas, keeping some of those scattered showers around. So it's been a rainy day for some, and that's basically been the theme all across the Mid-South and there towards the Southeast, as it's been honestly dry conditions for others, comparatively speaking to those areas I just mentioned. And the reason why that's such a big deal, well, look at the areas that are currently under the worst drought monitor. It's going to be North Mississippi, Northern Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and even there towards Arkansas. So the fact that we've gotten rain chances where we have been, impeccable for the places that need rainfall. It's lined up very well. So hopefully that continues to be the case, and hopefully we get to alleviate this drought rather than add to it over the next couple of days. So for that school bus forecast, we mentioned that it is going to be a rainy forecast for some tomorrow. Well, not necessarily around pickup. It'll be at drop-off whenever the school bus brings those kids home for our Wednesday. 85 degrees, but those 30% rain chances is enough to at least give your children or even you that rain gear as you head out and about tomorrow morning. So look at Futurecast overnight. We can see those isolated rain chances continue to stick south of Highway 82. More of that moisture at least trying to move into the Mississippi Delta overnight, but that really is dependent on what is developing in eastern Arkansas by that 10 and 11 o'clock hour. So all the more reason to tune in to Mississippi Live Weather at 10, because we will be tracking those showers out there towards Arkansas and just what to expect there in the Delta towards Clarksdale, Shelby, and there towards West Helena as we head into that overnight forecast. Now, tomorrow morning, as we wake up and get out and about, we mentioned that we need to grab the rain gear for the latter part of our day, but some folks actually dealing with some of those showers out there towards Clarksdale and Shelby. So that morning commute, we'll see a few areas of light to moderate rainfall, but the bulk of us actually going to be dealing with patchy fog for our morning commute. As a result of all that moisture we got today, nothing really to dry it up into those overnight hours. So that's usually where we get some of that patchy fog, just that moisture that's still in the air. It's got to go somewhere, and unfortunately results in that fog coverage. So low temperatures tomorrow morning, a mild start to the day, low to mid 60s across the region. But as the day goes on, our temperatures actually bump a few degrees warmer than where we were even at today. And today was pretty toasty, at least comparatively speaking to the last few days. So let's walk through that Wednesday forecast. And this is going to be your mid to late morning, staying on the drier side for the most part, at least some isolated showers trying to work their way back into the forecast. Talking about behind my left leg right there in Tuscaloosa County. But as we get there towards the early lunch hour, at least the early afternoon, staying on the drier side again. But that trough, since we're right in that boundary, you're going to see some of those rain chances pick up mid to late afternoon on our Wednesday. That's why I say keep that rain gear around, because look at how scattered these are. And we're talking about there towards the Senatobia area, Holly Springs. We're talking north of Ripley, Oxford, even down there towards Hollandale. So where these develop, the areas I just mentioned are going to see some heavy downpours as a result. But we're talking very isolated coverage. So not everyone dealing with these rain chances, but those that do will see some significant rainfall as a result. Now those linger into those evening hours, 6 p.m. on your Wednesday, still about 20% coverage with a lot of those chances still out there along the Mississippi River. But if it were to be a drier forecast, Clarksdale and Tunica going to be teetering around that 90-degree mark. Same thing for folks in Columbus, around Grenada, around Water Valley, whereas other places are talking 86 Houston, 87 Starkville, 85 there towards Louisville. A few degrees warmer than what we had today, of course, but still a bearable forecast. That's going to be feeling like the mid to upper 80s. So those feels like values, not any different from those actual temperatures, and that's the one benefit that we can take with this forecast is that drier air still reigns supreme despite that summer heat trying to surge back into the forecast. Wednesday evening, staying on the drier side once again, so those isolated chances dissolve on out overnight, and we'll be seeing a much drier pattern into the start of our Thursday. Now you see what's moving into the frame right there, and that is going to be a cold front that we are monitoring heading into our Thursday morning and afternoon. Those supplying at least some lift to the moisture that's already in the forecast, and that's where we'll get some of those isolated showers and isolated thunderstorms that could be on the heftier side, talking about some stronger wind gusts and maybe even some small hail. Mainly watching this threshold there on the northeast side of our area, especially as that front pushes more and more. A few of those could produce some strong winds like I mentioned and some heavy rainfall, so definitely keeping all eyes on that towards your Thursday afternoon. But that front, it's giving a false idea because it looks like it's about to surge through our area, cool us off, make it so much more comfortable, and make it feel a little bit more like fall. Unfortunately, it actually does the opposite. Of course, dips into our area, but as we head into that overnight hour and into our Friday morning, we'll actually retreat, head off there towards the north, and that southern Gulf moisture, that southern Gulf air starts to move back into the forecast and warm us up pretty immensely over the next few days. So already seeing that on your Thursday, 90 degrees expected for a good majority of us here in North Mississippi. Those start to climb even more into our Friday. Luckily, that drier air still makes it pretty bearable, despite it being those low to mid 90s back in the forecast. But rain chances, we've been mentioning it, where that inclement weather is possible. It's far northeast side of our viewing area, so a very limited area that will see some of that weather move in. 20% coverage that sticks around into our Friday night football forecast and for our Saturday forecast for any of our home teams playing here in North Mississippi. Monday and Tuesday, our best chances beyond today and beyond tomorrow, so we are watching that in the extended forecast. Talking about some of those rainfall outputs with that 20% forecast, I mean, we're talking 1/10 of an inch in a few locations, maybe up to 1/4, but not overly high on those rain chances. And I mentioned that severe weather risk. This is going to be for your Thursday. You can see that level 1 risk extending into parts of Alcorn County, Tishomingo County, and I believe it's right on the cusp of reaching Prentiss County, right along that northeast corner. So folks in Booneville just missing the threshold. But again, don't really take this as a scripture. This is definitely going to be something that will be modified heading into that extended forecast, but keeping eyes on that in the extended forecast. And as I take a look at the severe weather risk, that level 1 risk that's in place, you can definitely see that we are dealing with a very small amount here in North Mississippi. That primary threshold is, of course, along that frontal boundary. Further up the East Coast, that level 1 risk extending into Knoxville, even as far north there as Washington, D.C., West Virginia, I mean, all the way up into Baltimore. So we are just a small sliver of what is going to be a very large level 1 risk, but something we're continuing to pay attention to in that extended forecast. So your 7-day forecast, day planner, 65 for 7, 82 around noon, 87 towards the afternoon, and that's when those chances start to move back into the forecast, and some of those producing some heavy rainfall and even a few gusty winds, about 20, 30 miles an hour would not be out of the question for a few of these. Thursday, that possibility of some stronger storms possible. And then Friday, Saturday, just very isolated showers and storms in the forecast. 94 degrees for Friday afternoon. It is going to be a toasty forecast, but luckily overnight, that front starts to kick in and we'll see some cooler air as a result, dropping those temperatures back into the mid 80s for Saturday and Sunday, and low temperatures trend back as well, all the way into the mid 60s. So one of the things we're going to walk through, of course, is more on what to expect with those rain chances this evening. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon joining us back for some tracking on those storms. And of course, we're going to be walking through what's happening in the tropics, the latest output on that, and when to expect those threats to move in place. We'll have all of that in full detail coming up on Mississippi Live Weather here in the next 60.
For more than 100 years, First Choice Bank has provided dedicated community banking to North Mississippi. The banking products and services you need when you need them. At First Choice, you're our priority. Make First Choice your choice for banking.
not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I think I turned my microphone off again. Man, always working on stuff behind the scenes. I apologize for that. I turned my microphone off. One of these days, I'll have microphone over here. You'll be able to hit that button. Anyway, either way, one of these days it will rain at my house. The question is, which happens first? Microphone control over here or rain at the house? Outside right now in the Kosciuszko area, they're glad to have some rain. The heaviest is to the south of town, as you could actually see if I stepped out of the way of it there. But again, those lighter variety showers, this is the kind of stuff we want. They've got it, because this is that lighter, can soak in sort of rainfall as opposed to the hit, and then it's just kind of gone sort of thing. Another shot here in that kind of a pretty location. No rainfall with this, but love the way this one's looking in Oxford. We've got all our cameras here behind the scenes. At some point, we'll give you kind of a tour of that. Kind of showing, again, a lot of blue skies with that latest shot there in the Oxford area. They've warmed up a little bit more, coming in around 81 degrees. Again, just kind of those puffy cumulus clouds at this point in time. I'm going to pull out, I think, Crenshaw here, that I think has another pretty good shot here as we're kind of doing a little Skycam tour of some different locations. And again, this shot here, the sun bright, those high and thin clouds kind of filtering it somewhat. That temperature coming in 88 degrees. So well, again, there's a lot of folks that have not seen a lot of meaningful moisture from what has kind of moved through the area. I might as well show Smithville here while we're kind of doing a little tour, because Smithville is on the list. Smithville, Hatley, Shannon, Louisville, and then Baldwin, Boonville. Those are our candidates for Game of the Week. We'll see if Smithville Hatley can do it. That Skunk Bowl, Baldwin, Boonville is certainly leading at this point here. So we'll see if this one can make the comeback there. Maybe Louisville and Shannon can do that as well. But appreciate all of you for voting. If you want to do that, social media is the best way to kind of check out that. A latest look here at Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Again, as you kind of saw a moment ago there, Smithville, a lot of other spots. Again, this green that we see here, bugs, clear air returns. It is nothing of significance, but still showing that moderate to heavy rainfall, which thankfully looks a little bit more under control than it did at the top of the broadcast. Not that it was extreme, but certainly the heavy rainfall was a lot more significant then. You'll also notice that purple box going away for Starkville. That was our flash flood warning, now being lifted there for Oktibbeha County. And so it's just the fact that we've kind of had, for the hour here, especially southeast of Greenwood there, some spots that have had a lot of rainfall for the last hour or so. I think we're just below flash flood threshold for some of this, but moderate rainfall certainly the biggest impact out of any of those. I'm going to double check our chat here with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, make sure nothing new has come down on that in the last couple of minutes here. But when we look at the rainfall rates on this, those are also less and less of those are kind of showing up with the extreme purple. So again, it's more the greens. That's a sign that we've peaked as far as the heaviest rainfall is concerned. And again, yeah, looking in here, not a lot of reports coming in from either of those sources, National Weather Service or those other folks there at North Mississippi Storm Chasers. So Gabe, the overall headline at this point here then is I think we're past really kind of the worst as far as the severe weather is concerned. And tropics, that remains kind of the next big target that we're looking at. And as I can see here, certainly that threat increasing a bit more for some of the folks out there in the Atlantic.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a high chance of development over the next 7 days. One of the things we talked about last week was, a 10% chance of development over the next 7. The main thing we're watching whenever we say that is that's only over a 7-day threshold. So as each day passes, that 7-day threshold turns into 8, 9, 10 because you're advancing in the future. So we've expected this over the next 10 to 14 days to develop. So as of right now, 70% chance of development over the next 7 shows that increased likelihood as that 14-day forecast is now the 7-day forecast since we've advanced in the future. I feel like I just explained time travel, or at least time passing.
Something like that.
But 30% chance over the next 2 shows that confidence is increasing, not just over the next 48, but also the next 7. So it's one of the things that we'll be watching over the next week or so is just, what to expect. Is this going to be our name storm? Is this going to be the storm that has my name with Gabrielle on the list?
The female version of Gabe?
The female version of Gabe. So it's not technically my fault because I'm Gabriel. It is not.
Well, and one thing, I'll pop it over here and then we'll move on. One important point of order here for a moment is that while the names are female and male, they are all its. Storms are referred to as its. We never refer to it as her or him. It's like, oh, Gabrielle's being really... No, that's not it. They're all its, so it's easy to say, he was or she was. No, just its. That's one of those weird things. The Associated Press, very clear cut on that. We've always kind of adhered to that.
Well, that's something. I honestly learned something new today.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's not a he or she in this case, even if it is a male or female name.
I think out of habit, I'll probably still just do it because I've always referred to as Gabrielle's as her with, being the female version of my name. I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll break it for the A, B, C, D, F, G, H name this year.
What is H? I'm gonna put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, no, I don't. I look those up as they come. I'm not that good.
Well, I left the remote over there, so I cannot advance it right now. But one of the things I wanted to show you guys was what we call the jet stream, and this kind of gets us a good idea of what to expect over that. Perfect, I did not know it was right behind me. But over the next several days. So this is Wednesday at 6 p.m. and you can see this is the development that we're watching, and that's just off the coast of Africa. So this is going to be starting to move through the Atlantic over the next several days. As you can see, Thursday at 6 p.m. starting to become more of an organized storm at this point. Would not be surprised to see that develop into kind of a tropical disturbance, that transitioning more into Saturday afternoon, starting to get some of these blues showing up, meaning those wind speeds are increasing. And again, this is all a model. This is not actual scripture, so don't take it as that, but it helps give us an idea of how that movement will be. This is going to be moving through on your Sunday afternoon, so meteorologist Caleb Edelblut could be walking us through the next named storm as of this point. But as it moves closer and closer, you can see that some of our long track models have it trying to transition closer to the central United States. And as you can see, as it transitions closer, some of those wind speeds start to pick up, and we could see that develop into hurricane rated strength. Now, we are close as of this point. We're talking about several hundred miles there at 6 p.m. on your Wednesday, but watch how it starts to transition more north. And how that's going to be is an interaction between this trough right here that will develop and also an interaction between that high pressure out there in the Atlantic. So those two things taking place are kind of going to guide and direct this storm as we head into, let's see, this is Thursday of next week, so this is about 9 days from now. So as we take that into the next several days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, starts to move up the Atlantic coast far enough away to where it's not going to have direct impacts to the Atlantic coast. So fortunately for us, definitely going to be on the best case scenario, especially as this continues to strengthen. Some of those wind speeds topping out at about 100 to 150 miles an hour, at least on this model run. Still, I mean, this is 11 days out or so. No, hang on, my math's wrong. No, it's right. 11 days or so. So this is still way, way, way in the future, but something we have our eye on here on our September 1st, September 2nd. Just definitely been keeping eyes on that over the past few days. So that continues to move up the Atlantic, further out into the northern Atlantic, far away from us here in North Mississippi. So not expecting direct impacts here in North Mississippi, but I mean, as of now, not expecting direct impacts to any of the lower 48 here in the United States. So your day planner on your Tuesday, basically keeping those isolated rain chances around, not hurricane level rainfall or hurricane level winds. We're just getting one of those isolated summer showers. 76 degrees by 7, upper 60s by 10, much drier conditions, and then we transition into our next hazard with some of that patchy fog. So this is going to be a forecast we pay attention to heading into those overnight hours, and of course heading into tomorrow afternoon with more rain chances possible. What we'll be tracking tonight at 10 is more on those rain chances, when to expect those rain chances for our Wednesday, and latest model outputs that kind of give us an idea of that forecast. But one of the ways that you can watch us is on the Mississippi Live Weather app, iOS and Android. You can see on my bottom left and right. Make sure to scan that QR code and download it today. Matt, I wanted to bring you in here real quick to kind of walk through Weather Call and tell folks a little bit more about that. I think is it going to pull it up over here?
Yeah, I'll pull up over here.
Okay.
And so Weather Call, we talk a lot about it, during active weather like today. You get that phone alert that lets you know if you are in the danger zone as far as severe weather is concerned. You typically what we'll be talking about there, and I need to give me a second here. I'm going to pull this all off to kind of get it to clear that at the bottom. And then we'll bring it back over here to weather call. There we go. Now you can actually see all of it once everything kind of pops off the screen there. So apologize, now we have room to room over top of it. So I'm gonna get you this QR code clean here in just a second. So give me just a moment. I cannot read. Gabe, look at that up there. Which one of those says Weather Center sponsor? Is it that one?
Yes. Okay. It looks like it's off anyway.
Yeah, it is. Okay,
Patience.
just in time. I'm an impatient person, and if you're an impatient person, you don't want to worry about the weather. Weather call is the way to get around that. Of course, that QR code you see below me here allows you to pick up that alert that basically, when there's severe weather, lets you know, am I in the path of a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning, things of that nature. And it'll call you back if we have confirmed high-end tornadoes. Or what sometimes we call super severe thunderstorms, where you're talking about the most likely to cause devastating, damaging wind, or the very largest of hail there. So, of course, it's $15 a year. And you might ask, why do we care about that when the phone does the income? We got a great app, and it's very fast on the alert. And part of the reason for that is your alerts, I don't know about you, I have my do not disturb set to go overnight, and that silences alerts. It's the only way I can sleep because my phone's always... Let's see if I can get it on screen. It's always got something. See how far back we are there. We're not quite to noontime, but I also have it where it groups them up, so that's nice. Anyway, point of the story being that phone calls can bust through your do not disturb if you put them in your favorites. And so that's why a phone alert like weather call is so valuable to let you know basically if you're in that danger zone. So it is $15 a year. It's a good way to support us here at Mississippi Live Weather. I've been talking about it for a better part of 20 years at this point here. And so appreciate the good folks at Weather Call for supporting us, for joining us here at Mississippi Live Weather as we continue to build things out. Other thing, of course, we're looking at here as we kind of wrap things up, Mississippi Live Weather Radar. If you're wanting more rainfall, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of great chances still out there this evening. We're kind of past the peak on what we would end up seeing. So I'm going to leave you outside of some of the showers. And this camera here in Rolling Fork, I just kind of have a cool way I can look at all the cameras, or at least most of the cameras now behind the scenes here. So kind of a heavenly sort of look as we wrap up this broadcast. Of course, nice sunset there, but we know that you probably have a better sunset picture you can share with us. Send those in using the Mississippi Live Weather app. Gabe loves showing your Weather Watcher pictures. He will have some of these for you tonight at 10 o'clock. That's our next live broadcast. We're live at 5, 6, and 10. Every evening, and then tomorrow morning, 6:30, 7, and 7:30 a.m. If you're tired of us blabbering on so long here, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley, more precise and just frankly better at her job than us sometimes. She'll be live here from the Room Weather Center, 6:30, 7, 7:30 a.m. right on the button there to let you know what's going on for your day, live tracking any showers that we do have in play there. And one more thing that Gabe wanted me to mention, we have our Mississippi Live Game of the Week that is coming up this Friday, but voting ongoing now, and at 10 o'clock we're going to wrap up that voting. So for the folks trying to really get in there and do some voting, do you have that up on that computer over there?
It is up.
Hold on, let's go over to our meteorologist Gabe Maynor for the latest on that and where the voting stands, because it has been very fierce voting once again this week.
It's our tightest, I mean, granted, it's our second one, but it's been our tightest vote so far. So here you get the latest outputs. Smithville at Hatley, 38%. Louisville, oh my word. Not even a local.
Hold on, I gotta come over here.
All right, so Louisville at Shannon, 18%, and then we have Boonville at Baldwin, the Skunk Bowl, 44%. So between Boonville and Baldwin and Smithville and Hatley, we're talking 6%, about 400 votes or so?
So almost 3,200 votes for Boonville and Baldwin. And then for Smithville at Hatley, we're about 2,800. So it's close to about 400 votes, separating the two. It's possible we get a comeback, but that's going to be, a hefty change. And Louisville at Shannon, we've had 1,300 votes for. That's probably going to be a really good game as well. I think we hopefully have 3 good games there. And certainly when you start talking about the Skunk Bowl and then Smithville at Hatley, some big rivalry games as well. So kind of cool. Thank you so much for supporting us and for voting on those.
Yeah, week 2 is going to be a fun one, and we can't wait to get out there and be with you guys. Concession stand food, I'm excited.
Yeah, and that's one thing I should mention. I'm bringing Gabe out with me this week. I know he gets out of here. Caleb will be back here.
Cheese fries beware, I am coming.
Diets beware. Gabe is...
Well, and that's what I look here and I'm like, who's got the best concession stand food? That's really what I'm picking.
Well, you don't know yet.
Oh, I'm excited though. I'm excited to experience it.
I'm excited to have you out there with me, and hopefully we can do that as well. So, of course, we'll have the final rendering on that, your vote, tonight at 10 o'clock. So get on there, Facebook, you search for Matt Lawpon, as many of you have. That's probably the main way in which you found us. There's some Gabe Maynard folks that found us that way as well.
They're back in Birmingham. They're not even going to be at these games, but they still vote. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, okay. Did you put your finger on the scale this time as well?
I might have canceled out my vote. I don't want to let the folks know who I voted for. But if you know me, you definitely know where some ties are.
So anyway, we'll have that come up tonight at 10. Thank you so much for supporting us here in the Room to Room Weather Center for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. We'll see you tonight.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.